tell the emperor he's not wearing any clothes. Well, I'm ready to tell our president, Mr. Obama, stop mandatory vaccines. See how many parents are willing to give vaccines to their children if it's not mandatory. Thank you very much. Where are we going to? Okay, Lynn. Let's go to Lynn. Good evening, Lynn. Thank you for calling. Lynn, are you with us? Oh, okay. Here, I have Lynn's question here, so let me read you Lynn's question. My 16-and-a-half-year-old daughter is going on a mission trip to Haiti beginning of April. Hepatitis and tetanus were recommended. Marie is past due on her tetanus vaccine. I believe she is building natural immunity being at the barn with her horse, and she has never had a hepatitis vaccine. Well, hepatitis B is a sexually transmitted disease. Unless you think she's going to Haiti to have relations with people, I surely wouldn't give her the hepatitis B vaccine. Even if she was, that's really not the answer. Tetanus, I go back to the same question. I would go to the U.S. Department of the Passport Department, Public Health, U.S. Department of Public Health, see what's required on her passport in order to get back into the country. If it's not required, I hate recommended. I'm not into recommended. If it's not required, I would absolutely not do it. Let's go to Crystal. Good evening, Crystal, and thank you for calling.
Hello.
Hi.
My question is there any research or links with vaccinations and the SIDS for young children?
Let me tell you, that's so interesting, Crystal. The question of SIDS, I hadn't heard that in quite a while, the issue of sudden infant death syndrome and vaccines. That was very prevalently talked about in the early 70s when I was first in practice. I don't think there's any question about it that there is a link with that. But I find it very, very fascinating, that see, what's happened is it's the autism epidemic, and I say epidemic because we have somewhere between 1 and 2 million children afflicted with this horrendous neurological problem. As far surpassed any talk about SIDS, that the SIDS is hardly ever talked about anymore. I think that's the whole issue, but there's no doubt in my mind. It was relevant in the 1970s, and there's no reason why it's not relevant anymore today. We have seen virtually no SIDS in our practice. And our numbers are still small. We only have 35,000 children. Now, that may sound like a large number, but compared to the millions and millions of children in this country, it's still a small number. I'm going to put a poll up here for the next minute. And if you, let's see, the manage poll, launch poll. Just a couple of simple questions here on the poll, and you're not going to see my screen just for a minute, and let me just, let's see, Sue asks, can you restate the Generation Rescue study again or email it to me privately? Sue, I'm more than happy to do that. Do me a favor, please, Sue. If you can email me at mayor@homefirst.com and say I'd like the Generation Rescue study, I'll send it to you. I've got so many emails here, I'm not sure I'll be able to find you. But the Generation Rescue, and I also have it in my book. It's also available on the internet. If you put Generation Rescue on the internet, their study will come up. Let me go. Sophia writes, I am from Illinois, and I am expecting twins in a few weeks. Congratulations, Sophia. Do I need to have something in writing ready for the hospital in order to avoid any vaccinations done by the hospital? Absolutely, yes. You're 100% right, an extremely good question. What you want to do, and pray that it really helps, is make sure you write that no hepatitis B vaccine to be given to my newborn. There is no mandate in any state to give hepatitis B vaccine to a newborn baby. It is beyond preposterous, especially with twins, where almost everyone's going to do a cesarean section routinely. And I pray that you found the doctor that that doesn't do that. But no, write it, put it in big writing, and have your husband hand it to the nurse. Every nurse on file. Okay, let's go to the next question. Is the vitamin K shot mandatory for newborns? How can we bypass the vitamin K shot if we are delivering in a hospital? No, the vitamin K shot is not mandatory, in any state, not to the best of my knowledge. The same way that you avoid the hepatitis B vaccine at birth, you write in writing and make sure that they have that in big letters, like for a first grader, that you're refused the vitamin K shot at birth. Let's go. Can hepatitis B be transmitted through saliva? No. No. It's a sexually transmitted disease. Well, that was the thought on someone, the way AIDS was transmitted, and they had all these type of things, on AIDS, and they realized, no, that's absolutely not true. Let's go to Jamie. I know that Home First has many patients that are not vaccinated. How many of these unvaccinated children have asthma and or food allergies? Do you know of any studies tying these conditions to vaccinations? Excellent. Very excellent, Jamie. Virtually none. I'm telling you, it's something that we have virtually no asthma, virtually no food allergies. I can't think of a child that has peanut allergies in our practice. I'm sure there are some. But asthma, I haven't even have a better scientific evidence than just Mayor Einstein saying so. I'm the medical director for the Blue Cross HMO, the alternative medicine section. We have about 1,000 children in the group, and they have statistics on every one of these children, and I get all the statistics all the time. And the average in the million members, of which maybe 500,000 or 600,000 in Illinois are children, 12% of the children have asthma. They define asthma as 2 hospitalizations in any 1 year, 2 emergency room visits in 1 year, or 1 hospitalization. We had none last year out of like almost 1,000 children. And I got a call. Now, you expected 120. Pretty hard to miss 120 from none. That means we didn't have a single child that ended up in the emergency room twice in 2008, or a child that ended up in the hospital with asthma in 2008. And the HMO tracks this because that's the way they look at things. And the only thing that's massively unique about these children is that virtually none of them have had any vaccines, or if any of them had vaccines, they've had minimal amount of vaccines. Let me just take a breath here for a second. Take a little bit of water. We're going to Lori. My son didn't toe walk until receiving his late 22-month MMR. He walked from 10 months up until the MMR flat-footed. What do you think causes his toe? We talked to Lori a little bit earlier. Yeah, I think toe walking is clearly a sign of one of the signs of being on the autism spectrum. And is it related to vaccines? I would say virtually 100%. Here we go. Mildred. Very good question, Mildred. My doctor says that they do not use thimerosal in any vaccines anymore. Is that true? Absolutely untrue. Take a look at Illinois, where we've been a mercury-free state since 2006, and you'll find that there's still mercury in vaccines because the governor has signed every year to allow there to be mercury in vaccines. I'm going to go on another question here. I vaccinated my son, but I would like to refuse the booster shots. Can I still claim religious exemption? I live in Illinois. Also, how do I know if I harmed my son giving vaccines? I do not vaccinate. I do not vaccinate twin sisters. I'm not sure what the. Oh, okay, we're good. First of all, let me tell you something. My heart goes out to all the families whose children have been injured by vaccines. Why? Because they unknowingly did what every doctor told them was the right thing to do. How are you supposed to defy the medical profession, which allegedly has our best interest at heart, has the interest of our children allegedly at heart? How do we go and do we defy them? It just absolutely makes no sense. So thank God, God is good. in spite of everything, most of our children really still come out doing pretty well. Thank you. Let's go to Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Tony. Hey, two other questions. One, going.
Oh, wait, that didn't work. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Start again, Tony. We muted you too quickly. Go ahead.
Sorry. I have two questions. First, going off of that first graph that showed the decline of those 5 or 6 different diseases
let me get
over
that
time.
Up. Yes.
Is there a similar one that would show like the number of incidences of occurrence, since that's kind of what vaccination is supposed to prevent? And then I guess adding on to that, you know, like the measles, mumps, rubella, pertussis, and all that, do we have effective treatments for those now if you don't get the vaccines and you do contract them?
Very good question. You know, here, let's put Tony on. I'm going to put you on mute so that the question is, do we have incidence of these diseases? Yeah, take a look. The incidences almost died out of these. We had a measles epidemic in 2008. And they claimed there were 40 cases in this country. There's most probably about 10,000. That's still insignificant. I hate to say insignificant, you know, but almost all of these were children who received the measles vaccines. And let me see if I can find the graph that goes along with that. I had it here somewhere. No, I think it's a little bit further down. Here we go. Large mumps outbreak, and the mumps was in 2006. And the reason why mumps is similar to measles is because it's the same vaccine. Well, it's not. It's measles, mumps, and rubella. And they found that of the 10,000 children that received, that came down with mumps in 2006, 87% in 2006, the national two-dose average was 87%. You know, and it says despite a high coverage rate with 2 doses of mumps, a large mumps outbreak occurred. Now, you know, there is breakthrough, but very few people die from mumps. And I'm not saying, you know, they've made it sound like if, God forbid, you come down with any disease, you're automatically going to die. And I think that's, you know, and they aren't, you've got to look at the balance. And the balance is that the vaccines carry with them side effects. I want to know every single side effect from these vaccines. I want to know the number of people who get side effects. Then we can kind of balance the risk versus the benefit. Are there any treatments for it? Yeah, I think there is. You know, and one of the biggest problems we have today is that we are just virtually a whole society vitamin D deficient. Is vitamin D the answer to illnesses? Well, if you take a look at almost every illness, and I don't have that chart here with me, but the vitamin D deficiency, let's see if I have what I have here on here. Let's start with cold and flu. Here's a study that was done that shows that people who received no vitamin D, this is the number of cases of cold and flu that they reported, and this is if they took 800 units, 2,000 units, nothing, and you know, and this has been replicated by study after study. You know, is showing that flu and pneumonia can possibly be prevented by it's not a question of taking vitamin D, but being in the sun. Taking vitamin D in a supplement is a secondary form to that. And it seems that we've had more and more problems with infectious diseases, especially respiratory infectious diseases, as we've been told that the sun causes cancer. Very, very frightening. Okay, hi, my name is Dina. I'm wondering, what is the supposed theory behind unvaxxed children will lead to widespread epidemics among vaccinated population? Dina, you've hit it on the head. You know, only the most moronic thing I've ever heard in my life, that the unvaccinated children pose a risk to the vaccinated children. Hello, isn't the opposite it should be? That the, I mean, this makes no sense. You know, it makes no sense. It is, you know what happens? When someone gets hooked up in nonsense, they no longer know how to respond anymore. And they're looking to arguments that are blatantly absurd. If the vaccines are so effective, why would they even worry at all about an unvaccinated child? You know, isn't the unvaccinated child the one that should be at risk? No, it just doesn't make any sense. let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Rick, who helped us earlier. Hi, Rick. Are you with us?
Hi, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about vaccination and